Tracks and some music that you never guess. I don't slack, don't lose, learn your lesson yet. When I get to
Hello and welcome to the Smite Draft League. We've got some challenger action for you. I'm Anthony and I've got KingFsher with me. How you doing?
I am doing outstanding. Should be a fun day of Smite today. We got Harbingers taking on Volcanic Lightning, possibly one of the coolest team names in here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If name is anything to go off of, then this game should be a wash, but we'll see. We've got our first bans coming out. I see a Lancelot and an AMC.
Yeah, and I really like to see that AMC ban. I think it's been gaining a lot of popularity lately. Obviously, SPL on a break, so kind of hard to see what the pros are doing and what they're valuing. But AMC, I think, insanely strong and has really great flex potential into mid, which can always make it hard in a draft.
For sure, and nobody likes a Lancelot sticking on top of them the entire time. And on that same vibe, we got a Neja ban coming out, so they want some space, they want some distance, they want to be comfy over on the side of Harbingers.
Yeah, definitely looking pretty wary of that Volcanic Lightning jungler. Both bans so far targeting him, and a Guan Yu ban to follow it up. That is not a god I'm used to seeing getting banned out. Always pretty good, but never really seems to hit that top tier, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, it always depends on the player. A lot of times you can see that ultimate be incredibly impactful late, but it depends on the skill of the player getting through that laning phase, because honestly, a Guan Yu falling behind that ultimate can stop being relevant.
Yeah, it easily can. Like you said, I think it is very player dependent. I think comfort over meta is always the way to go. So if you take away a comfort pick from somebody, that'll always be better. And like we see, I'd assume another comfort pick is Kakolin taking off the board. I honestly can't remember the last time I've seen him banned, but I do like the ban. I think Kakolin feels really strong. He's got two sets of abilities, so he just keeps constant pressure. And speaking of pressure, Hades is going to be the next one to follow him up.
Yeah, Hades is always a throwback for me because, that's one of the characters that when you're going through the early phases of learning Smite, it can just knock you around. As we see the Cupid be our first lock-in of this game. I know you like to see a Cupid.
I do. I find it a little odd. Top locked, he did get a slight nerf recently, but luckily it is a pretty slight nerf, just small damage dealt to minions. Still an insanely strong ADC. That Fields of Love ultimate is so impactful if you get it off correctly in a team fight, but might be limited by that Yemoja, arguably a better team fight ult with that River's Rebuke.
Yeah, if you get stuck in a wave, your days are numbered, and that's going to be a dangerous pick coming out for Volcanic Lightning, mixing up the volcanoes with some water. Like to see that. We like to be inclusive. X-Ball, speaking of inclusive, bring him back from the pits.
Yeah, this is real blast from the past on the side of Volcanic Lightning. Gibelant, not normally an ADC we see, and kind of an interesting one into Cupid. Should honestly be able to keep him poked out pretty easily with that branching Bulla. So it might be an interesting duo lane over there as Yu Huang, another god that saw a nerf, being locked in. But all pretty small nerfs in that bonus balance. Nothing, I think, game-changing, and we're seeing it here with this Order Team pick.
Yeah, as we wait for the next picks to come out here, take me through a bit of what you expect to see from that Yu Huang. That's one of the characters that I'm still getting reacquainted with upon my return to Smite. We do see a Daji coming in. So take me through what you expect to see from that Yu Huang, and I guess now the Daji too.
Honestly, from the Yu Huang, I think it's a little hard to predict. There are so many different ways of playing him, I feel like. It does revolve around the player, but I think early aggression, really easy with him. If you get rooted by that line attack, I think people really underestimate just how much damage it does and how much damage he's able to pump out on top of it. Especially when paired in lane with his Dodgy. That's going to be a really deadly early mid 3v3, but on the other side, the Pele lock-in, not your traditional jungler, to say the least.
No, but I do like the Pele X-Ball Yemoja so far because it's a unique team comp. So even through scrims, casual ranks, whatever it may be, that's not a normal pairing you see. So it might take a bit of getting used to for Harbingers to play around that combination, assuming it's done well.
Yeah, and I think all the ults locked in for Volcanic Lightning are really, really chaotic kind of ultimates if you really think about it. I mean, they're going to get locked in walls, they're going to be blind, they're going to have lightning shooting and cones everywhere. The team fights could get really messy for Harbingers if they're not careful. Maybe that's why their name's Volcanic Lightning, though. I think Pele has volcanoes, then she makes
Oh yeah,
lightning.
look, I guess they
Bada
just
bing,
picked a
bada boom.
mascot.
Oh, that'd be sick if that was their mascot. And a Poseidon band. That's gotta be a
Yeah, and a
respect band, you would
Baba
think.
Yaga band too.
Yeah, some interesting ones come out here from Harbingers. Definitely, I think, did their homework. They know exactly what they want to do regarding the enemy's team draft. And speaking of enemy team, two really, really good supports lately being locked out. Kepri and Kabrakan, I think both have really dominated. So no real surprises from the ban phase from Volcanic Lightning, I think. Really, the Hades is the only one that really stands out to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that. We do see the Discordia, so you couldn't target ban them all, I suppose. Discordia is always a strong pick that is gonna get locked in. You know, Discordia can be one of two things. It can either be 2 and 8 and kind of have barely an impact, or she can go 15-1 and 2 and absolutely dominate a game. It really can go either way.
Yeah, the Discordia lock-in surprises me a little bit. After seeing that Poseidon Baba Yaga ban, I figured they would go to a more aggressive mid laner. Maybe something with a lot more early kill pressure, not to take anything away from Discordia, but not really what I would assume is the most aggressive mage normally likes to sit a little bit and wait till team fight. Or at least maybe that's the way I play, or maybe I'm just a weird Discordia. But the Ganesh lock-in, that's another really good ultimate to kind of counter this enemy team. Umoja's River Rebukes is going to have a little bit of competition and keeping people contained.
For sure, and you and I have talked a bunch about Ganesh and about that ultimate. And one thing I want to look to see, and will be very important this game for the Harbingers, is for that ultimate to be effective and to be used at the right time. Don't just go burning it at the beginning of a fight if you want it to actually matter. And we do see the King Arthur come in to round out the team of Harbingers here. That's exciting for the solo lane.
Yeah, it is. Been a long time, I think, since we've seen King Arthur in the competitive standpoint. Yet another one of the gods that got a nerf. More so than that, I think his normal build path did as well. Bluestone got nerfed, Glad Shield got nerfed. Manticore Spikes did as well, which I guess indirectly affects all solo laners. But still, maybe not the most top tier pick right now. Still, King Arthur, I think a very, very good pick if people are able to pilot it effectively. It's really mechanic heavy. Lord knows I can't play King Arthur. I'm not that skilled, so I'd be interested to see how well they're going to do with it into this Achilles, who I think is a much easier solo laner to play and can be much more dominant when played correctly.
Yeah, King Arthur versus Achilles is going to be a brutal and vicious solo lane without a doubt. So I'm excited to get into this game. How about you, Fish?
I'm very excited to get it, and it should be a really interesting one. Yeah, a really competitive set. I think both these teams look extremely strong going into game number one.
All right, and with that, we're going to see you in game number 1, and we'll be back soon. All right, and we're back, and it's game time. We've got Harbingers on the order side. We got Volcanic Lightning on the Chaos side. Find a cooler name, you can't. I'm still Anthony. He's still KingFsher. Let's do it.
Yeah, getting right into game here should be really interesting, and already a little bit of build discrepancy when you look across at different roles. It's going to be a Warrior's Axe going into what I'd assume. Oh gosh, I don't even know. Blackthorn Hammer? I don't think it's Blackthorn Hammer. I think I'm blanking on the name there. And King Arthur looks like he's going to go into Sovereignty, first item.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. A couple of years ago, I'd have been confident that he was going into a Frostbound Hammer and been excited to see a Frostalus, but I don't think that's exactly the path we're going to see today.
Probably not. Maybe still the Frostbound Hammer, honestly, offers a lot of aggression. There are certainly more foolish things they could do.
On the topic of aggression, we see a lot of damage coming out in the dual lane pretty early. X-Ball's got to fly away and deliver some pizzas. Wrong skin, same ability. And a lot of aggression coming out fast in the dual lane. And we do see the junglers popping over to the solo lane. We're starting to see that become a common trend.
Yeah, it really is. I kind of miss it. Maybe it's just because I'm a mid laner and I miss my friends in mid. But I think offer a lot more value. I think in the mid lane, it became those 1 to 2 waves became really, really important. Where in solo, they sustain up really easy. They're tanky. It doesn't have too much of an impact. That Totem Aku is really the only point of contention early now, I think.
Yeah, because you can't exactly steal a blue buff before it's up, and that's kind of traditionally been the thing that you're looking to steal if you're going to take the trouble to go all the way over there if you're a jungler. And very box-heavy lane, but we did see the Ganesh kind of overextend. There wasn't really much punishment, followed up from when the Cupid used the Heart Bomb a little early. So, oh, First Blood over in the solo lane. Did not see that one coming for the Achilles, but impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, still relatively high health too, so must have been a really good one as Ganesh steals away Interceptor over here in Duo. That's something I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, those Duo XP camps got merged into one, and they now drop the Scepter that the Obelisks used to give. Do you think that's going to be a really big point of competition early in these games, or is it just kind of one of those things like, it's good if you get it, but if you lose it, you don't really care?
I think at first, as with anything in this game, as it's newer, it's kind of overvalued almost no matter what it is because it's newer on the map and you want to contest it. It's sort of like when Totem first came in the game and Borderline, everybody wanted to go over there and fight over it. But I think as time goes on, we might see it start to be a little more normal and kind of consistent with the rest of the contestable XP camps around the map. As we do see a blue buff invade, that's gotta hurt for Gear Chief over in the solo lane.
Yeah, that Pele movement speed paying dividends, rotates over there and gonna get the Totem Aku on the way back. I think, like you said, probably overvalued. I think the one really nice thing about that Scepter is if you get that on your ADC, your boxing in the first few minutes becomes so much better when builds aren't as important, everybody has the same thing. I think it kind of falls off later when it's more on who hits the abilities versus who's got the relics up, but it can be pretty strong early. Definitely falls off. And now we've been seeing action from both lanes, but mid lane, extremely, extremely quiet.
Yeah, and you know they love that. I mean, we do see a bit of damage on the Discordia if you look at the health bars, but it's nothing, too concerned. I mean, we can see her even backing now, but yeah, it must be nice because a lot of times mid lane can kind of be just disaster zone and like battleground, and we do see the Yu Huang! Discordia decided to take a step forward, and we don't know why. Gabba gets the kill, and now Pele's on the hunt to try to get some revenge, and Pele will. Perspective Duck gets the kill onto Gabba.
Well, Battlegrounds, you were certainly right about 2 ults, 2 kills, 1 apiece. Luckily for Volcanic Lightning, they already got that first blood from Budweiser over in the solo lane. So, no big bounty gonna go over to Harbingers. So now both mid laners gonna lose a little bit of farm. That was right when we were saying how non-committal it was, how they were playing safe.
Yep.
Boom, just like that, they're both dead.
And all it took was the Discordia taking 2 little tippity taps up underneath her tower, and the police were there.
Yeah, maybe wanted to get that big golden apple off, but not quite able to do so, as Yu Huang was pretty low, maybe could have found the edge. Luckily, though, a little bit late to that one. Both mid builds starting the same way too. I think this is something we've been seeing a lot more. Mid, I think, used to be pretty varied depending on picks. There were a lot of stuff that worked, but we're seeing one pretty meta build path here now. And I don't know how much I like it. Still a lot of flat pen missing.
Arthur trying to get his blue buff back, and he will be unsuccessful in that. I was just about to say it's impressive Arthur hit level 6 before Achilles given the kill and the invades, but I guess it doesn't matter because Arthur's still not allowed to have that blue buff.
Yeah, not today. He does have that tower teleport on cooldown, so likely got back to lane pretty fast. Achilles opted to go for the beads, not one I think we normally see while matching up with a King Arthur. Only has, I think, one really strong CC ability, and if you get hit by that, you're basically already dead. So now Ganesh shows up a little bit too late to contest that scepter.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the beads was kind of a forward-thinking maneuver to try to avoid the Dashi or maybe the Fields of Love, as we see Achilles get the execute underneath the tower. BudweiserCranker won't let up off of Gear Chief. He gets another kill, now up 2-0 on his solo lane opponent.
Yeah, maybe now it's Gear Chief wishing he had the beads. Get away from that Achilles stun earlier. And River's Repute dropped to secure the purple. Definitely not something I'm used to, but I guess want to give every advantage you can to your Gibelon. Cupid just back, so he's going to have the advantage in lane pretty shortly here. But if your ADC gets behind early, it can be a really dangerous thing.
Oh, no!
No!
And that's a Centaur kill on the Dashi. Somebody nerf it ASAP.
Oh, I think that's the first one of the season. That is incredibly unlucky. That's going to set her behind a little bit. Now down a level to the Pele. Pele's got a couple seconds of farm before maybe can rotate out early. Speaking of rotate out early, though, Yamoja first to show up in mid.
Yeah, and Ganesh not too far behind, but impactful nonetheless. And you know, the stats can recover, but the mental can't recover from dying to a centaur. That sticks with you.
Yeah, it's never fun, but luckily, I think, hopefully, he has a very short memory span playing like a goldfish today, as Pele again gonna take the totem. I think third in a row. But yeah, like we said with the Emoji and Ganesh rotating out, I think it's become kind of a trend lately in Smite. I feel like supports stay in lane a little bit longer, and I'm not so sure how to feel about it. I think the more aggression you can get
Apple's gonna miss in mid lane, and just like that, all of a sudden Gabba starts counting lives.
Yeah, lucky there by Gabba to dodge that one. And luckily, still has her beads, using their invulnerability in the dragon really, really well, as Pele now looking on the left side for a red buff invade. Probably going to be successful, no wards from Harbingers.
Ganesh just decided to walk in for a bit of fun, but Discordia going to take advantage of this odd positioning that was followed up by it. But Ganesh will put those nice elephant trunks in the way to protect Gabba so they can walk back. And now we see the Pele might have caught the Dajiao, but the Yamoja with an own goal on the Pele helping out the Daji there. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of miscommunication. Okay, the red did got dropped. I was looking on the map. I thought for some reason Pele didn't invade, but I guess did get that one off.
Yeah, just a tough turn of events there. But, you know, it's early on in the game. It's nothing detrimental yet. And we do see the pillars followed by the wave. We're creating sculptures over there in the dual lane. Ganesh is going to pop the shell. Cupid's gonna pop the Fueled with Love. It doesn't matter, flipping Ninja's dead, but Cupid's trying to get the return kill on the Pele, but all of a sudden he's poked out. Now it falls to Daji. Another shell, this one from the Yamoja, and this one saves the Pele and gets the purple buff for X-Ball. Overall, pretty big victory for Volcanic in the dual lane. And we're not done fighting yet over in the solo lane, but King Arthur's gonna get away. Action all around here.
Yeah, really good fight there by Volcanic Lightning to not only just get a kill, but open up a lot of space there over onto that left-hand side. Only 9 minutes in, but it's never really too early to think about getting aggressive onto objectives like the Gold Fury. And I might have put my contacts in on Inside Out today. I could have sworn that Ganesh dashed right through that River's Rebuke. Oh, he already has Phantom Shell. It's already updated. Okay, never mind. He did.
You know,
dash
that's
right
that's a respectable maneuver. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep, that is one I am not used to seeing, but I guess almost paid dividends there. He's really close to getting away.
Yeah, that was a tight one. So as we're coming up on the 10-minute mark, we're starting to see some slight differences, nothing major. Do you see anything in builds that are sticking out to you? You were pointing out some stuff in the beginning. We did see that Blackthorn Hammer, as we were talking about early on. Do you see anything else that sticks out?
I think the Fabulous Hoops from Umoja are something I really like to see. I've said in the past I am pretty biased towards Fabulous Hoops. I think they're an extremely strong item. I think only thing besides that would maybe be Pele going an Erendite third item, but it's a Pele that's kind of what you do on her, not really a lot of other assassins we see build that item that early. So I think all around, no real standouts so far. I think very typical game of Smite, and one that's been playing extremely well from Volcanic Lightning.
For sure, and I do want to give a shout out to Gear Chief because I saw not only a totem secure, but I saw a blue buff belt around him. Impressive over there in the soul lane, considering how things have been going.
Yeah, definitely.
And Cupid's gonna drop Fuel of Love onto the X-Ball, but the dash might have come at perfect timing, but he ran into a Daji. Darkest of Nights won't be enough to get Gunaholic away, and Daji picks up the kill onto Shibalanke.
Yeah, nearly. That Daji almost died to that tower. It would have been cool for the X-Ball if you survived, but also had to burn beads really easily and not living for it. Definitely not a trade you like if you're that ADC. Is now I think also, Daji kept her ultimate. I thought she was going straight up onto that Palau instead of diving tower, but really good choice by Akamaru. Akamaru, I really hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. Save his ultimate. Save his blink too, it looks like.
Yeah, and we do see Pele showing up on the to help out the Achilles and take out the Arthur. And just when I thought Gear Chief had things under control, the bullies come back and take his lunch money over in the solo lane.
Yeah, and I think it can be a really easy thing to underestimate just kind of how hard that Achilles ult can be to hit sometimes. King Arthur, an extremely mobile god. But Cranker has hit every single one of those ultimates so far as Umoja again riptides Yu Huang into the safety of his own tower. Maybe Yu misplays it. Ooh, she is.
And there's the pillars. We see apples flying. The Daji gets pulled back into his clutches. King Darkness will fall.
Yeah, not what you want to see. Umoja may be playing a little bit too aggressive, but I do like aggressive Umojas. I can't lie. It's nice to see them really get up and involved. I think the abilities they have can be used really, really well, not only for peel like everyone uses it, but for initiation. And it's hard to kind of do that over the Ganesh, who I think has incredible engage. Speaking of engage, Cupid wanting to get aggressive again.
Yeah, Cupid decided he wanted that wave all to his lonesome and uses the Fields of Love to pressure away the X-Ball and then just heads off into his jungle. You know, some might say it's a waste of an ultimate, but if you've played enough Smite, you understand that that ultimate did just buy that Cupid a lot of time, putting the X-Ball down to half health. He pretty much wins this next wave for free. Pretty nice play over there coming from ZTan.
Yeah, definitely a smart one. I am a little bit surprised ZTan didn't get a little bit more aggro. Obviously, X-Ball's beads are down, has his ultimate, but I think maybe that ult dropped him a lot lower than he expected it was going to. Still, that's going to be wave pressure, allows him to back, and should allow him to have this purple buff as well as all Volcanic Lightning have gone away now. We're looking over there, and I think did secure those oracles as well.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about it when we saw the Ganesh get picked up in picks and bans, but so far, I will say, the ultimate usage, really from both teams, has actually been considerably impressive.
Yeah, they have. And normally, I think even in early games, we already see a few missed ultimates. It gets a lot more noticeable, I think, late game. But I think all these players playing really, really well from a technical standpoint. We haven't seen a lot of missed abilities, not a lot of use of bad relics either, which is sometimes really easy to see not only early in games, but I think early in the season, people are a lot more wary, maybe not relying on their teammates as much. But I think both teams looking real cool, calm, and collected here.
And cool, calm, and collected is the Daji, as the dash and the ultimate on the Achilles, and the hit. The beads was up, but it wasn't used until after the fact. Might still work out for the Achilles. It does, but a bit of a questionable usage of purification beads there coming from the Achilles.
Yeah, I guess better safe than sorry. Does walk away with his life, so probably not too angry about that one. Did draw a lot of attention away from this Gold Fury, though. But Volcanic Lightning still working on burning it down. Might be stolen, so wait, Cupid's life, but Pele getting turned on.
Pele gets turned on, trying to get away after being able to help secure that Gold Fury, and it looks like Pele is going to get away pretty much harm-free. So overall, some big victories coming out for Volcanic Lightning.
Yeah, definitely used, I think, a little bit more relics than they wanted to in that small series of fight, but do get the big objective. I think they did have a lot of control on that left side of the map. We've seen a few buff invades. Seen a couple on the right too, so maybe wondering if they want to look towards those scorpions, towards a pyro when it comes back up. Look like they got pretty firm control of the map as Cupid extremely low. I think in more danger than he feels he's in.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know if it was worth it to step back up for those cute little pints he's got. And now we're going to see a 3v2 push for this tier 1. But here comes the teleport from King Arthur as Ganesh starts throwing down. But Cupid stepped up a little too far, and Discordia with the punishments for it. And all of a sudden, this goes from a tier 1 siege to a Cupid death, and everybody going their own separate ways.
Yeah, big credit to Air Force, really. First stunned him under the tower and landed that apple perfectly to burst where Cupid was, rather. Yeah, really good play by that Discordia. I think it talked about it not being an aggressive pick. Proved me a little bit wrong there. Even on tower line, can still do a lot of work. Dodgy now going to take a really, really large minion wave.
Yeah, that looked almost like a like a bit of a greedy tax over there in the mid lane. You never want to mess with a jungler and their taxes. They're worse than the IRS can be.
Exactly. Junglers need their XP. That's just how it works. And Yu Huang still keeping level with the Discordia. Speaking of Yu
And it looks
Huang,
like the Achilles
maybe not.
might have gotten in some trouble, but he steps right back out of it. Heals fine for now, and they're going to turn their attention to the Scorpion and not be able to pick up that Achilles. He almost walked a little too far there.
Yeah, and I think just as we were talking about seeing really normal builds, that is a really early staff of Mirrodin for the Yu Huang. I don't know how much I love that. I think it is a very, very strong item on Yu Huang, but normally don't see it till a little bit later. It is pretty expensive, but does give pretty good stats. I think it's a 10% pen, 10% cooldown with that damage buff too, as there's a lot of brawling in mid lane. Yu Huang needs to be careful.
Yeah, Yu Huang has taken damage after damage, and Daji is only just now showing up to try to ease some of that pressure. And it's a little bit too late, as Yu Huang did take a bit of poke, but now with a bit of safety in his own jungle, shouldn't be punished too badly for it. But I will say that damage coming from Discordia, keep your eyes on that as we get later in the game here, because that's nothing to, you know, turn a blind eye to, as X-Ball spots out the gank coming and dashes away, and Pele decides she wants to tussle with Daji a little bit. Over in the mid lane, it looks like BlackAirForcess has got to pick up onto Gabba. Huge kill coming out for Discordia.
Yeah, just like you talked about, watching out for the damage, and I think the sustain on this Discordia as well, building into a lifesteal item, what I could only assume to be Soul Gem, but might see something different. Gonna be able to compete in lane a lot more than Yu Huang will, as Gabba falls for the second time. Really good job by Gunaholic there. Didn't have any wards over on that left side. I believe that sentry belongs to Harbingers, but running away at the right time, making sure that, oh gosh, what's his name? Akamaru does not get that kill.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start coming up with some nicknames together. I mean, thankfully, you know, we have time for that. You and I, we talked about it. Our homecoming dates, etc., etc. We have plenty of time to come up with nicknames for all these players.
Oh yeah, all kinds of fun chats in the caster's corner. But, and now Yemoja might have stepped up way too far.
Yeah, Yemoja's caught in between an elephant and a hero, and he's getting tossed around, and Daji's just waiting at the bottom, but Yemoja has the shell, but it's not going to matter as you step through the wave of the portal. Miss Yemoja, and now she's down. Big kill going the way of Harbingers, and we're not done fighting yet in the solo. King Arthur going to get poked out by Pele, but Daji's not afraid, comes in on the Pele, who's going to be able to get away, and now we got a blink from the Achilles on the Daji. Ganesh follows up with the dash, and just like that, once again, we're having to step back from each other, and we constantly see that where these fights break out, and as soon as enough damage starts coming the way of either team, they have to both kind of break out and separate because it's just not worth the effort.
Yeah, I think really solid fight there by Harbingers. King of Darkness almost got away, but I think both teams luckily realizing when the fight wasn't going anywhere, able to back off, and as a result, I think map state kind of stays the same. Pyromancer, the only, I think, attainable objective on the board right now. I don't think either of these teams have a big enough lead to really warrant going for that fire giant. I think that's something I harp on a lot, is objective pressure. I think one of the teams, or one of the ways that teams can get themselves out of game early is by not applying enough map pressure, not being, I guess, cognizant of where the fight should be at. But luckily, I don't think any team has misplayed yet. Maybe taking it a bit slow, but that's nothing to be ashamed of.
No, I think we've seen a couple of instances of being out of position. Most of the time, everybody's getting away with it. But this time, Discordia gets caught up in the mid lane, and now she's stuck in between the four pillars. Daji Ultimate's going to come out, but the Purification will get Discordia away, and now we've got Pele chasing down that Daji in the blink to get ahead. Daji tries to turn, the shell comes out, doesn't matter. Another kill going the way of Pele. That is a killing spree, and Cupid's here. Picks up a big kill on the nice rotation. And we're not done fighting yet, as we do see Pele and Yemoja kind of stuck. King Arthur's here, Achilles here, everybody's here to party. Achilles chasing down that Arthur in the back, but a nice interrupt with the silence from the Ganesh. And just like that, it looks like the four members of Volcanic Lightning are going to look to better things as we see a great disengage that was all spurred from a nice silence from the Ganesh interrupting the flow of things. They're going to look for the Pyromancer, and they're going to get it. What a fight that was.
That was a good fight, and do step onto the objective, I think, exactly at the right time. That was a little odd. The X-Ball never used his ultimate that fight, despite Cupid showing up there early, maybe holding it in preparation for a later fight, or if they got aggressive on that OBJ. Luckily, though, do take Pyro, should be able to take this middle tower as well. Trebuchet waiting patiently there for somebody to push it up, though.
Yeah, Cupid's going to have to take a few steps back, and while the rotation was good, probably time to head about your way before you find yourself being the victim of some gang violence, and we do see him head that way. Looking at the builds, pretty standard everything so far. We do see an Aussie for X-Ball, and we do see an early Executioners for the Keen size, as we see the Primal Fury get easily taken by Volcanic Lightning. Nobody really seemed to pick that out, not even myself.
Yeah, Volcanic Lightning have taken all 3 objectives. I think I might have missed a Pyro earlier, so maybe they did get 4. But playing the map really well, and a pretty decent advantage. Oh, I guess not really advantage in towers, but gold advantage at the very least are up about 5,000 right now. 5,000 may not seem like a ton at 21 minutes, but that's another tier 10 item, a finish item for each player, and I think you can see that in the builds. Little bit further along than their counterparts from the Order team.
Yeah, and we do see a Silver Branch coming out after that Keen Size from Cupid. I am a huge Silver Branch fan. Tend to like it as a last item, but I guess that's up to personal preference. The passive is just so strong. It kind of has been for the most recent seasons.
Yeah, I think even ignoring the passive, it's just such a good stat stick. I mean, 30% attack speed, 20% penetration, which I feel like you don't really feel as an ADC, but the enemy tanks feel it. They really do. You just absolutely melt people. And I think really good into this team comp. Achilles, definitely one of the tankier solos. And Yamoja as well, being able to keep everybody topped up, gives them shields with the Fabulous Hoops, gives them extra protections with the Lotus Crown. Yamoja doing a lot of aura work for her team this game.
Yeah, and we've seen a passive few minutes here, so I'm noticing in the damage charts, we can see that Yu Huang's kind of fallen a bit behind. I mean, Daji's not doing great either, which hasn't shown up in terms of kills, but I would like to see them both step it up as we get later in the game, as Pele gets taken up into the air by Arthur, but the waves are going to come out to save the Pele, but now they're turning their attentions back to the fight. Big Achilles blink in the back. Pillars go up, but Harbingers nice and sync, and the apple isn't going to be able to do much as it's bouncing around like it's playing pinball back there. And once again, we're going to see these teams go their separate ways for now. Bit of a tussle in the solo, though. They're not quite done yet. Discordia looking for some damage. Can't quite find it. And we're going to have to see what these two teams take it next. Everybody's waiting to see who's going to take the first move. And it looks like... I thought the X-Ball was with the dash in, but he thought better of it, probably for the best. Kind of want to see these teams break away and start to move for something else, but they're going to go for the big damage onto Shivalanke and Yamoja, but Yu Huang wants to follow the damage, and Daji did not get that memo. Heading back towards Woopuff, Daji's as done with this fight as I am, but for some reason Harbingers and Lightning are still hanging out in the solo lane looking for war. I'm not sure who made the other one mad, but things are brutal out here. Achilles goes on the Yu Huang, but once again, a great silence from the Ganesh is going to stop things in their tracks. Now the damage is on Achilles. Pele's looking around the corner, trying to make a play happen. We've been long enough in this fight for a second apple, and that one bounced around as well. Somebody walk away from this fight.
Yeah, I think definitely had those moments in Conquest where you felt like it was too important to get away from, especially with Fire Giant being so close. I think both teams just waiting for the other to make a mistake. Speaking of really good team fighting though, Yu Huang, Gaba doubled her damage that fight. So I guess maybe not having enough opportunities, the build certainly allows for it.
Sure,
a
that was
lot of
impressive.
damage locked up into that one.
Yeah, it's almost like I was heard. That was very impressive to be able to turn that around in that fight. And we said it earlier about the Discordia, to keep your eyes on it. But now as we're getting late, and apparently Gaba's here to play, keep your eyes on that damage as well, because that could be a game changer going forward that Yu Huang has now showed up.
Yeah, and I think, like you noted, those couple golden apples missing, those can be so impactful as a team fight. Did Arthur a step too far, though, in the middle of 3?
Yeah, Arthur started the spin to win, but not too much punishment coming out. But I guess he's not done. He walks back forward. I think this time he knows the homies aren't far. But are Ganesh and Daji committed to this fight as King Arthur are? I don't think so. Arthur's going to have to finally step back. But here comes Volcanic Lightning, taking some peeks, seeing if they can stop those backs. Achilles going to dash forward and take a little bit of a poke onto Ganesh. Volcanic Lightning might consider taking on this Pyromancer while we got a bit of a dance going on, but ultimately they're going to go their separate ways after another big dance-off. If we're even done dancing, the music must still be playing on the field, and I just don't hear it. Here comes Harbingers grouped up, and they're going to start the Pyromancer after all.
Yeah, that might have been a really unfortunate mistiming there for Volcanic Lightning. I don't think they realized not a ton of wards deep in this jungle. The backland was at base from Harbingers. Volcanic Lightning easily, I think, could have stepped up there. They were grouped as 5, could have killed all 3 and gotten away with the Fire Giant. But they are going to have to settle for their Scorpion as Pyro falls away. Maybe a little bit of indecision or maybe just not enough ward coverage there from Volcanic Lightning.
Yeah, you know, you and I talked about the benefits of being able to stay calm and passive, but I think there are times where aggression is the best play in Smite, and I think I would have liked to see it there from Volcanic Lightning. Just like you said, there was a lot of opportunities there, and they kind of, you know, just chose to let them go. And I guess we're going to have to see what happens going forward, but I need to see these teams step it up. And just as I say that, the big waves come out to separate everybody, and Blue finds themselves right in the middle. And an apple hits onto the Ganesh. Fields of Love hits on the Emoja. Not too much damage going either way. Achilles is the only one really throwing hands, and he's throwing them with claws against Adaji. He turns his attention back to the solo lane, and once again, we're fighting at the tier 1 in solo. Pillars out, Yamoja stuck. Big blink onto the back. Pele gets the kill onto Daji. Yu Huang's trying to get away with Cupid. The Phantom Shell was popped. Pele's taking huge damage. Darkest of Nights might be enough for Geartree to pick it up. It is. The execution was ready, but Achilles didn't see it. Gunaholic picks up the kill anyway onto flippin' ninjas. And now we see Gunaholic get the double kill. This time it's Gabba. Arthur takes up Yamoja into the sky as Cupid's just trying to get out of there, fighting under his tier 2 tower. And the dash, followed by the heart bomb, will be enough for Cupid to get away. And Arthur's gonna back in front of their faces as if he doesn't even care.
Yeah, and I think all these players must have ESP. The second we mentioned wanting to see Volcanic Lightning get more aggressive, take the big team fights, they do exactly that. Really good ultimate from that Yamoja early off to section that fight. I'm not gonna lie though, I thought they were gonna lose that. They used so much utility early on. They used Disco's Apple, Yamoja's River Rebuke, they had the Pele going in from behind. Then just kind of pulled back, but luckily I think put their foot on the gas right when they needed to. And now 3 down for Harbingers. But a little odd, again, Volcanic Lightning opting not to go for that Fire Giant. Both players on Harbingers were backed. It would have been a stretch, but I think definitely doable. I think maybe hesitant to go for that big of an objective 30 minutes into this game.
Yeah, I think the big difference maker and the cause of that aggression was as soon as that Pele showed up in the back and said it's go time, Volcanic Lightning did follow up. So maybe that's what it's going to take. It's going to take somebody leading the charge and saying it's time to initiate. It's time to make our game plan happen as opposed to standing back and kind of waiting to see who makes the first move.
Yeah, speaking of who's making the first move, though, I really like the way Harbingers are playing this objective. Maybe a little bit cavalier there from King Arthur, but they're ready to step up. I think they have really good ward coverage around. As Volcanic Lightning, I think they've been doing this Fire Giant dance for the past 9 minutes almost. And I think they need to do something quick, otherwise they're going to stall. And this game, I don't think, may ever end if they don't get aggressive onto these objectives soon. They definitely have the advantage. Still up about 6,000 gold, so I think build-wise should too.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting to me, especially from the side of Harbingers. I mean, you have to fight and you have to contest over here in solo. You can't give up anything for free. But the Daji is still trying to farm up to level 20, and not everybody has finished their items. So, you know, you can't give up objectives for free, but committing and fighting a war that puts you behind ultimately not be too worth it. But I don't know. They know better than me. They're the players as Arthur shows up and he's leading the way. Ganesha and company behind. Well, Volcanic Lightning is just going to walk away and say that they're not into that noise. But the Scorpion might have piqued their eyes as Achilles is now leading the opposite charge, and the apple comes out. It's going to hit Arthur right at the beginning of the fight. Not do too much damage. Arthur's full of health. Here comes Shivalanke from the side. He doesn't want to be late to this party, as exciting as it may be. But once again, the dance continues by Fire Giant. Nobody's committing too hard quite yet. Some good damage from Discordia. And for now, that's going to be it. You got to talk to me here, Fish. What do you want to see? What's going to break everybody's back? Will it be the Fire Giant?
You know, honestly, I think whichever team goes in first is going to win this fight. Both teams, I think, are playing way too cautious. There's definitely a time and a place, but there have been opportunities galore. The one thing I do love, BlackAirForcess has been throwing out a lot of abilities. He's been getting a lot of poke. I think playing this fight exactly the way Discordia should. Just like that, King Arthur rooted again, now being shipped down to half health, creating a really big opening, and here comes Achilles.
Achilles with the blink in. He's gonna get caught up in the air, though, by Arthur, and just like that, things are back to calm, but not quite yet. And there's another apple. This one's gonna pick on the Ganesh, but wisely walks away from the King Arthur, saving some damage. Yamoja brings the Ganesh in, but that brings the pillars in. Daji up into the air, looking for some pulls. There's a Dark of Tonight's. blinding everybody's sight. Arthur's trying to back in the middle of this fight, almost gets away with it. But now Gabba finds himself the victim of that back and that separation. Gunaholic picks up the kill onto Gabba. And now we might finally see a fire giant here late in this game. Pele sniffs out the Arthur, though. Might just be trying to buy some time. This is the perfect opportunity for Volcanic Lightning to make a play on that fire giant.
Yep, and I might scream if they don't, especially with Cupid now on left trying to take care of that trebuchet. I guess casters are smart. Sometimes they did engage first, and they did win that team fight. Still needs to be careful, though. Only able to finish one off. King Arthur drawing pretty close. The fire giant at about half health. I think
there's another apple rolling through.
I would have... if I were them, I probably would have used that damage to maybe see if I could go for secure. They're going to drop the fire giant. I do not know if that was the right call. To their credit, a couple health bars dropping very low.
It's a bit rough. I think part of that was the Pele was helping peel with the Achilles, and I think they were lacking a lot of damage on the fire giant to go alongside those health bars. So I think that was a big part of it, but it's hard to say. I mean, we're not in the comms. We don't hear the decision making. There could be plays here that we're just not quite aware of, but I agree with you. I would have liked to see either a commitment to the fire, a commitment to a fight, or just a commitment to going back and healing up, but some kind of commitment.
Yeah, and I think to their credit, like you said, we do see things differently. From casting, our perspective, we see a lot more things that the players don't. Cupid sees something going in and gets a kill.
Big fields of love will help Cupid pick up the kill on the respective duck. And there's the apple. It hits somebody squishy. It's Cupid, but Cupid's going to slam off that damage. Here comes the big waves with the Blackest of Knights also taking part. Cupid's trying to work his way back. He's back up to half health. Achilles is in the back low. He's going to get brought back forward. And Gabba picks up the kill. And just like that, Harbingers has a 2v5 advantage, but their health isn't looking the greatest. I don't know if it's enough for Fire Giant.
I think this is the third fight win we've seen with no... I guess they are trying to get aggressive. If King Arthur is able to come back in here, I think they can do it. Discordia trying to work around the edge. Fire Giant half health.
Perfect timing by Arthur, too, to get back in there with the teleport, just like you were saying. But Discordia was able to do enough damage, and once again, the Fire Giant is going to get dropped. This time it's at half health. Arthur's still in there throwing hands. I'm not sure if anybody sounded the alarms. He's now going to fly back. He's going to have to use that purification, and Discordia, with the beautiful timing, picks up the double kill.
Now, I think we're finally going to see a Fire Giant, and it's a good call. All three are back at base. I think going back to, like we said before, though, with some of, I think, what we identified as missed opportunities, like you said, we see it a lot differently from here. We see advantages that they don't know they have. We see some traps, some wards, all that stuff I think really plays a part in uncertainty, you know, not wanting to commit if you're going to die, but luckily you finally do get the right commitment as they should get the Fire Giant, and Yu Huang might die as well.
Yu Huang gets blown up by Discordia, who put a bomb inside the apple. Fire Giant goes the way of Volcanic Lightning at 34 minutes, but this Pele took a bit long to back, but it didn't matter in the end as the Fields of Love was just a little bit short. But now Volcanic Lightning sees a Cupid and a Daji. Daji's gonna have to go on the ultimate. Cupid's dashed away, and the ultimate might be enough to save the Daji. It's going to be. With the Magi's blessing, it wasn't quite worth the chase.
Yeah, great play by that Cupid, getting up there fast, forced out both of Pele's relics. That's definitely going to be helping them in this next fight. But luckily for Harbingers, I think definitely nowhere near out of this fight yet, even as Pyromancer does fall to Volcanic Lightning. Down close to 8,000 gold, but all the tier 2s I think are in a decent state. Minions are only hurting left lane. And the Gold Fury, still a normal Gold Fury, no Oni to go with, but if I'm Harbingers, I want to get this quickly before Volcanic Lightning can push. It does give that new Draugr's Boon effect. Your towers, and Phoenixes too, get up to 21% damage mitigation. And I think a lot of teams really underestimate how huge that can be when you're on the back foot, like I think Harbingers are here.
Yeah, I think it's kind of amazing, actually, how much is still left on the map after we spent 117 minutes over at the Fire Giant. But we're starting to see a bit of grouping up in the solo lane by Volcanic Lightning. That's going to be enough to pick up the tier 2. We've got our first tier 2 tower down at 35 minutes, and now the fight rages on, and the push might begin on the Phoenix. They're going to think better of it, maybe considering the tier 2 in mid lane, trying to clean house with that Fire Giant. Always a good decision.
Yeah, give credit to Volcanic Lightning for as long as it did take them to take it. I think played that extremely smart. Everybody backed, got full health. Very coordinated onto that first tier 2, and again here in mid, I think they're just going to let X-Ball push down left. If they can get this mid tier 2 down, the Harbingers putting up a really good defense.
Abilities flying everywhere, but not too much damage to follow. The only one to get incredibly poked out was King Arthur. Tier 2 will fall in mid. Tier 2 will fall in left. And just like that, Harbingers finds themselves without towers and only birds to defend themselves. And now we see a bit of indecision coming from Volcanic Lightning on where to go.
To their credit, they have time. I think about 2.5, 3 minutes still left on that Fire Giant. So we do see what I'd assume a short pause coming out. I'm a little bit surprised that Harbingers chose to back off from that Tower 2 or tier 2 tower defense. Looked like they had a health advantage and still did have the man advantage. Maybe didn't know X-Ball was on the left, wanting to save themselves from any potential traps. But luckily now, Volcanic Lightning pulling back. I think Harbingers still in a decent spot. I think their defense is a lot better than Volcanic Lightning have engaged onto these Phoenixes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I think the indecision making for both teams really is still there, but I think it's getting better, especially for the sides of Volcanic Lightning. I would have liked to see a little more cohesiveness between the team over here at the Phoenixes, because they kind of split and they didn't seem quite sure as to where they wanted to go. But I do think that Harbingers pulling back could possibly be beneficial, if for no other reason than we have seen a kind of consistent theme where Arthur goes aggressive and Gabba kind of finds herself hanging out to dry. So maybe pulling back and being able to save that damage was enough to keep everybody alive that time, as opposed to losing lives at tier 2 and maybe costing the game.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, Gabba has been pulling back from the fights a lot. I think that's why Discordia has such a damage advantage. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though, for the Yu Huang. Definitely a much safer mage. And that ultimate, the Dual Dragons, does a crazy amount of damage. So I think keeping yourself alive, saving that for the right time, is definitely the way to go, even though the team might feel it. Speaking of feeling it, Volcanic Lightning walking right into the Phoenix. And
Cupid dash backwards, but Achilles followed with the blink. Heart Bomb might be able to stop the aggression for now, and another good silence from Ganesh. Waves are up, but Pele's are on the side. Waves don't matter over there. Harbingers finding themselves having to fall back as they have now lost their Phoenix over in the left lane, but Yamoja's trapped behind the wall. But a nice little dash into the Fields of Love, followed up by the Taji, and that's going to pick up King of Darkness, and a big kill for ZTan, as now we turn our attention to the middle Phoenix, as we do see Pele backing in the left lane.
Yeah, and I think despite that death to Umoja, Volcanic Lightning played that Fire Giant extremely, extremely well. They got all the big tier 2s off the map. They got the Gold Fury to limit the way back that Harbingers had into this game. Getting that left Phoenix was insanely valuable. This next Fire Giant just wore off, coming back in about exactly 1 minute. Volcanic Lightning have every advantage in the world here. I think definitely this is going to be their fight to lose. Looking at the relics, though, they have a lot less relics than Harbingers do, so they do need to be careful about where and when they engage this next one.
Yeah, we do see final builds coming online, and there isn't too much that sticks out to me. We do see that the Chibalage has Ase online as opposed to having the Executioner. They went a different starter route, so a bit more sustained for the X-Ball, but Cupid does make up for it with those cute little pints of that British skin. We do see also a late male renewal pickup for Yamoja. I know you and I are big fans of that item, but picking it up late, not as much value from that spot.
Yeah, I definitely don't think so, especially with the way that Yamoja herself plays. I think also King of Darkness has not been the target in these team fights. I think there's been a lot of focus onto the Achilles and a lot of focus into trying to peel off the Pele. Maybe better options. I think, like you said, though, both of us still do like the items. Good protection, and that heal it gives you is really good. Volcanic Lightning have a really good amount of sustain. And looking at the anti-heal on the other side, there is a significant amount as X-Ball dropping really low to start this fight.
X-Ball's gonna have to use Darkest of Nights to get away, but the Golden Apple will be enough to make King Arthur calm down, at least for now. Yu Huang finds herself taking damage in the back again before they can even really get in the fight and get some damage out. And all of a sudden, Achilles is here. Dashi picks up the kill onto Discordia. That's a huge kill, but Pele returns the favor and gets one mid laner for herself. ZTan picks up the kill in Perspective Ducks, and everybody's dying. Now at the Pyromancer, we got a big fight. Cupid trying to sneak that Pyromancer. Daji picks up the kill on Gunaholic. I thought for a second he was trying to use the Odysseus bow damage, which would have been impressive, but nonetheless, Yamosha gets picked up by ZTan, who all of a sudden here in the late game have shown up and is on a rampage, and now Harbingers turns their attention to the EFG.
Yeah, really good fight by Harbinger, and I think great job by flipping ninjas on the Ganesh. Use that Phantom Shell absolutely perfectly. That was a really good River's Rebuke by King of Darkness to kind of break up that fight. But to absolutely no avail, as Ganesh walked right through and got a lot of pressure onto that back line. I think unfortunate for Volcanic Lightning, Gunaholic got cut out really early, and I think that kind of threw a damper in their plans.
And picking up the Pyromancer on their way out, making sure they get the best with their coupons over in the right side jungle. King Arthur finds himself fighting off a Trebuchet in the mid lane, so we are lore accurate out here. But yeah, that was an exciting fight. I'm impressed by the return kill on the Yu Huang by the Pele after losing Discordia, because that was a huge difference maker in that fight. I think if Yu Huang had survived alongside that Cupid damage, that fight could have possibly gone even worse for Volcanic Lightning.
Yeah, definitely could have, and I think that's a really defensive Fire Giant on the side of Harbingers. I really like that. Like, all their lanes, minion situation looking a little bit rough. By taking that away from Volcanic Lightning, I think this game is going to get extended a bit. As much in his advantage as Volcanic Lightning had, I think they did need that little last push to get them in there. I think, like we said earlier, Harbinger's base defense is extremely, extremely good. Lightning gonna need every advantage they can get, and Harbingers just took a massive one away, as Yamoja might fall too.
Dashi picked up the Yamoja, and ZTan was right there to follow up. Yamoja drops the waves, but it might be a little too late, as she's already gone. And now, all of a sudden, tides have turned. Harbingers is on the offense, and they want their own Tier 2. First Tier 2 goes the way of Harbingers. Big victory, no matter how small it might be. And all of a sudden, Volcanic Lightning finds themselves on the back foot for the first time.
Yeah, really, for the first time this game, I think since minute 1, they've definitely been on the forefoot. The Pele provided them a lot of pressure early on, but I think it's kind of leveled out a bit. Still finding some really good attacks and a few pivotal kills in the back. But Harbingers have done a great job keeping most of their team alive. This core push now, they are missing King Arthur, but he does have Tower Teleport, so he can be there. And speaking of, here he comes.
And X-Ball wasn't able to stop the teleport quite in time. That would have been massive if he had been able to pull that one off. And now, the Phoenix Siege begins. Ganesh leads the way, but Achilles blinks in to try to calm things down. Oh, Darkest of Nights comes out, but it wasn't enough to help the Dashi pick up kill on Discordia. And all of a sudden, everybody's down at half health on the side of Harbingers, so they're having to fall back quickly, but X-Ball almost got picked up. He's running away with a sliver of health, but Achilles is going to keep fighting. No rocks in sight, but Pele's here to clean things up. But the damage wasn't enough, as everybody's got to separate. Harbingers might be on the back foot heading back to their base, but with all that fighting, nobody died.
Yeah, and that could have been incredible by Perspective Duck, but credit to Harbingers for sticking together. I know sometimes, like, the instinct could be when you get ulted by a jungler going into the backline, everybody scatter, every man for yourselves. But no, gonna be sticking together perfectly, keeping all 5 of them alive. Harbingers looking in a great spot to continue this raid. But I think maybe leveled out a bit here. I think all of them backing is gonna allow Volcanic Lightning to get a little bit more map pressure.
For sure. And, I do want to point out that, Caster's Curse, not always real, at least so far.
We love Caster's Curse.
Because that damage on the Discordia at 46,000 at 44 minutes, Cupid's not far behind, but that Discordia damage was pretty much as impactful as we expected.
Yeah, and I think just the difference from the Discordia to the Yu Huang, I don't think Yu Huang's been playing bad at all. I think in contrast, Gabba's been coming up with some really clutch abilities. Good poke, too. But Discordia in these team fights are keeping these tanks really low, which I think Gabba normally has been targeting the backline when she's been stepping up. But I think BlackAirForcess being able to keep this King Arthur in particular, we've seen him enter a lot of these fights at half health and stuff, and it's been because of the Discordia poke.
So tell me, you're big on assessing the positioning late in these games. Do you like that Harbingers has been hanging out over here by the fire giant, even though there's a little bit to go? I know they're separating now, but they did spend quite a bit of time over there in right, just kind of poking around with not much to gain from it.
See, I do like them being up by Fire Giant, being prepared. I don't think there's anywhere else on the map they should be. That being said, I think it would have been a lot better use of time if they went back and got some wards. They have 3 sentry wards, not another one. If you look in the map, Volcanic Lightning have a lot of normal wards scattered everywhere. Their jungle, enemy jungle, fire pit. And without backing here, Harbingers are going to have a rough time on this fight. I think Volcanic Lightning have a big advantage going into this one.
Yeah, every single time Volcanic Lightning backs, you see the inventory light up blue with wards. We see the apple bounce off the wall, and on the rebound picks up Cupid. That's a huge amount of damage on the Cupid. We'll see if it's impactful. It's enough to send a Cupid back to base, and now we're going to have a 4v5 just as the EFG is spawning in. That's pretty massive. The waves come out a bit early from the Emoja, possibly expecting a bit more of an engagement from Harbingers than we got.
Yeah,
so that's going to be huge.
I would expect either miscommunication or just a simple misclick. Those walls have been really on point, but despite all those wards, they do not know, I think, that the Cupid backed. Not gonna lie, I don't like that Cupid backed. I think could have sustained up, but no harm, no foul. Does pick up 1 normal ward as well. So I think Harbingers do draw a little bit equal here in ward value as we see Volcanic Lightning again step up this Fire Giant. They've been doing it again and again this map. I guess they do have Pele missing, but at this stage in the game, I don't think you can afford to give Harbingers any opening. They've definitely been building up some steam lately.
Yeah, I agree, and we're starting to see power potions come out. Gigantic damage onto Discordia, and the pillars is going to follow up, and the chase ensues. The apple, oh, and the misdirect. Yu Huang finds himself alone with Pele again. Achilles gets picked up by ZTan in the mid lane, and Yu Huang's safe for the moment, but Pele accidentally ran into Gamma and picks up the kill. Arthur's returning the damage, and Cupid's here. And Cupid's got some damage of his own. Big double kill for ZTan as the attention turns onto the hunt. As we see Emoja, Discordia, and X-Ball running for their lives, but Harbingers will turn around and possibly consider that EFG, but they got to get everybody on the same page first.
Yeah, and they need to go right to this. One member just backed for Volcanic Lightning, and I think it's probably the most dangerous one, being that Discordia. I do not like the call to step onto them now. I think, yeah, King Arthur backing, they're going to have a rough time. They're just going to have to leave the Fire Giant. That might have been a misplay for Harbingers.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the communication was there.
All staying alive still should benefit them. They do have a man advantage. So I think at the very least, don't have to worry about the Volcanic Lightning stealing it away from them. May have been a good opportunity passing up, though.
Yeah, the Arthur had a very good setup over by the Scorpion.
Love to see it.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Sorry,
the inventory is finally lit up blue. Oh, Fish just got so excited. If only you could know what I see on the desk right now. But, like I was saying, the Arthur was in a great position to set up and really calm things down and give Harbingers a time to do that Fire Giant. And with the amount of damage that they're outputting, I don't think it would have been that tough to do. So hindsight's 2020. Again, we have a better perspective as the casters, but that might have been a mistake. We'll see if it will cost them. Apple's going to catch the Ganesh, and the Ganesh is going to walk it over to the Arthur, but they're so tanky at this point. What does it even matter? But Cupid, on the other hand, not quite so tanky, takes some decent damage. Arthur, once again, leading the charge and kind of looking for his team to commit. Yu Huang is not here yet, though on the way, and Volcanic Lightning is looking to take some pressure out of that situation. Not too much follow-up yet. Ganesh is going to have to rush out of there before it's too late. And now it looks like Volcanic Lightning is trying to set themselves up for a Fire Giant, but if they're not going to commit to a fight, they might not be able to do that Fire Giant. We do see them start it. Not doing too much damage as Pele and Achilles are still looking for the peel. Arthur's dancing around and no commitment still.
Yeah, and I think for as much as we harp on the small plays, whether not being aggressive enough, maybe missing something, I think can't be underestimated how hard it is to keep your composure 50 minutes into this game. So credit to both teams. All the, like, quote-unquote mistakes we've been seeing are really, really small. Both teams have been capitalizing extremely well. playing really sound, disciplined Smite, so definitely love to see that in week number 1 as King Arthur might be playing Smite from the grave.
And there's the pinball, but it's not going to hit this time. But Arthur finally finds himself on the other end of a lot of damage. Feels the love with the wave. And King Arthur is going to fall, the perspective duck. And now we're turning our attentions back. But Discordia gets blown up by Daji. That's a huge loss. And now Cupid's doing some damage. ZTan picks up the kill onto Gunaholic. And all of a sudden, he's glowing divine. Perspective duck picks up the kill on the Gabba. And all of a sudden, we're 2 for 2 over at the Fire Giant fight. The Cupid's full health, and he wants more blood. They're trying to chase them down, but they might consider turning for some objectives. They don't know Achilles is backing in the solo lane. It looks like they might do just that and turn onto the EFG.
Yep, and that is going to be the smartest play call of the game. They're going to burn it down really fast with that Cupid. It doesn't matter that Volcanic Lightning have wards. They should get it before Pele gets here. Indeed they will. Pele gonna back. Great play calling from Harbingers. And really, really good Palau from Daji. I think might have gone overlooked at that fight by some people, but pulled in 2, got beads off another to pull them back towards that Umoja ult, separating the fight really well, and allowing ZTantalus to get a lot of damage off his Cupid.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these fights are making me go cross-eyed trying to follow as we tend to get them breaking out into 2 separate sides.
They're a lot more separated than we normally see, for sure.
Yeah, that time it kind of seemed like there was 2 big fights and then almost like a small support slap boxing match in the middle.
Yeah, do gotta love seeing the support 1v1's always very entertaining. But still, I think really good team fight by both sides also. The fact that the Volcanic Lightning came out of that with 3 still alive, I think is going to speak wonders going later in this game. I mean, it's a 50-minute game, and there's still under 40 kills. Both these teams are doing really good about keeping their key players alive exactly when they need to.
Yeah, I love my arena references, but this game has not been that. This has been more akin to almost like something you would see in Dota, if I'm being honest. Now, the Cupid, we do see, has caught Discordia in damage. So that Cupid is paying his dues for Harbingers, but not far behind him is that X-Ball. So we could start seeing some turns. That X-Ball can get himself into a good position. We could see some of that damage that Cupid's been outputting go the way of Volcanic Lightning.
Yeah, and I think speaking of ADC damages and differences, I think the Cupid ults have been so impactful in these team fights. As Volcanic Lightning is late to back. But Cupid wasn't up yet. Could have been a great opportunity at the Phoenix. We're still going to try it. There's the X-Ball. Big engage from Volcanic.
Achilles blinked in but couldn't find anything right away. Now the waves are making everybody stuck. Cupid ult in the back, but Pele's able to get out of it. And just like that, we're once again going our separate ways and being able to reset and re-engage. If this was a fight in a high school bathroom, it would not go this smoothly. Somebody would be on the ground hugging the toilet by now. But so far in this game, everybody's able to reset and collect their thoughts before they get into the next fight, which could go well. We do see the Yu Huang is quite poked out. This could be huge. Discordia tries to pick up the Yu Huang, but the knockup by Arthur might have saved the life of Yu Huang and Daji. But all of a sudden, trying to do that, Arthur's quite low. So now Harbingers finds himself having to retreat to heal up, and that could have cost them this siege.
Great play by the Discordia, and I think indirectly this Cupid is one of the main reasons that Harbingers are still in this. Those heart bombs are so useful. I mean, consistently, I think Volcanic Lightning are winning the poke game. They have a Umoja, they can stay tanky, but the heart bombs from Cupid have been distributed really well. The team doesn't have a lot of lifesteal. A soul gem is really about it. Tower TP from King Arthur and heart bombs from Cupid are letting Harbingers play so much more aggressive than they would be otherwise.
Yeah, and I almost, at this point, with the kind of sustain we've seen coming through, it might not hurt for somebody to pick up a meaningful anti-heal item as we see a meaningful ult from Ganesh lead to the death of Gunaholic on the X-Ball. And now the Fields of Love drops with Apple in response. Emoja down to half health, but doesn't matter for Discordia. ZTan picks up a double kill, and he's immortal, but he tries to dash away, leading to the shutdown. But he gets the triple on the way out, and there's a 4th kill going the way of Budweiser. And now it's up to Yu Huang and King Arthur to finish the fight. Achilles is quite low. Yamoja is about half, but Achilles might be able to get away. He's hugging the wall to dodge. Arthur's right behind him, but he got stuck on a minion. Spin to win. There's the wave. Achilles is running and running and running, and his heel is holding on strong. And now It's up to the Umoja to defend as Achilles heals up, but just Yu Huang and King Arthur, I don't know if they have the damage to take out this Phoenix. It's coming down slowly, and Umoja's not body blocking the Yu Huang basics. But Achilles is here now, and he's full health. Yu Huang's gonna have to beat to get away. There's a Phantom. Oh, and that must have been for the movement speed as we see Yu Huang and Arthur trying to escape. It's the buddy system as they split the wall, and after all that are able to get away.
Yeah, and I think that's like we've been saying, Gabba in these teamfights, staying alive, maybe getting less damage than the Discordia, proved great that time, able to clean up some of the low health bars and put a ton of pressure onto that Phoenix. Great job by the Yu Huang staying alive and spreading around the damage well. I think, like you said, we are not seeing a lot of anti-heal from Volcanic Lightning. They have a Curse Donk, and they have a Brawler Beat Stick. When you look on the other side, there's a Nunk, there's a Pestilence, Divine Ruin, Brawler's Beat Stick. You're seeing just about everything come out from the Order side team. I think that's really helping them. Like we've said, the Cupid paying dividends for his team. Some anti-heal from Volcanic Lightning could definitely help that. I'd like to see maybe a Divine Ruin from this Discordia. I think probably could afford to withgo the Spiridesso.
Yeah, I think the Divine Ruin could be big. I could also stand to see a Pestilence from the Umoja. I do think there's room in that build, especially late here. Yeah, the Mail of Renewal is kind of falling off late here. I mean, the passive is good and all, but this late in the game, you're going to die before that passive does you much good. So I'd much rather see something that could be as impactful as limiting that healing that keeps coming from Harbingers. We got a tango at the Fire Giant. It's my favorite, baby. Put on your dancing shoes. Is somebody going to commit this time, or am I going to be single again? And I'm going to be single again as they're walking away. Volcanic Lightning considers the chase, and they're going back to the Fire Giant. An apple does hit around the wall, and King Arthur might be enough to put him out for a good 2 seconds, as they're going to fall back to the blue buff, and Volcanic Lightning is going to hang out over by the Pyromancer.
Yeah, and again, just when it seems Harbingers have the advantage, Volcanic Lightning doing well to drive them off the Fire Giant. I know we said it a couple times in the past, but I think this far into the game, at an hour, it's not necessarily the next Fire Giant that's going to win the game. It's the next team fight that's going to. All of these fights have been so even in terms of how many people are dying. I think first team to get an advantage is really going to run with it. I think it's really unique. We've gotten to 57 minutes, like we mentioned. This is the point where honestly 3k potions are being bought and we can really see builds start to change, which in a normal Conquest game, not something you really see.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing that's going to cause a victory in this game is if you hear me yell deicide, we might finally have the end of it, but otherwise, I think we're just going to be, you know, doing a bit of a choreographed dance. The apple comes in from Discordia onto the Ganesh to try to disrupt the Pyromancer, but they're going to get it anyway. And Harbingers will take that Pyromancer and take a few steps back as Arthur once again wants to just remind the Achilles that they're both playing this video game. Pele's looking around the side, trying to make something happen, but if Pele dives in too early, she will get picked off, so she thinks better of it and falls back to her team. Daji takes out the mid camp. If you can guess, I'm running out of things to talk about, so I decided to commentate on the 1v1 with the Daji in the mid camp because everything is meaningful at this point in the game.
You know, there's one thing I can think about. I don't know why my mind keeps going back to this, but seeing the 70k damage Discordia, I think this game would have been over at legitimately 20 minutes if they let BlackAirForcess get on that Poseidon we saw banned. I'm now thinking that was an insane player-specific ban. That would have been terrifying to see. I mean, he's been doing so well at poking out. Just imagine a Kraken would spell absolute chaos. So now Harbingers may be finding a little poke, decent damage onto the Achilles.
Yeah, the Ganesh was trying to lead the way for Cupid, and they got a decent bit of damage off on the Achilles, but everybody's so tanky this late, it's really hard to be a difference maker. And Cupid's going to fall back behind that Pyromancer wall. He's looking to make a play. He wants to be the next highlight. And unless we see a deep commitment from one of these teams, I don't think anybody's making any highlights anytime soon. We're just going to be hanging out. But we do see Arthur sneaking around. Arthur's got places to be. He's going to try to take out that Phoenix. And if nothing else, this Phoenix might cause enough of disruption to give some of Volcanic Lightning to back. Yep. So that Fire Giant might be open. But instead, they see the 4v5, and they're running in. But Arthur looks like he's teleporting back, and possibly just in time. Cupid's already down to half. Daji gets picked up on the side by Perspective Ducts, and they're chasing to the soul lane. And did you forget about me? Hope not, because Arthur's finally here, but it might be too little too late, as now Cupid finds himself at half health.
Yeah,
it looks like Volcanic Lightning starting the Fire Giant.
I think that was a bait that went horribly wrong by King Arthur. I think he was trying to drag that Achilles away. Now Pele overstepped way too far. Gets Cupid, though. That could be the deal breaker they need. They get the Fire Giant, too. This could spell game.
That's a
Why are they backing
gigantic
off?
fire giant, but they're not going to commit to pushing anything. Everybody's going to go back. I guess they're worried about their wards and they want to try the 3K pots. Maybe somebody's got a build pulled up they want to try out, but no commitment to ending just yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, huge that they got that enhanced Fire Giant. It sucks that Pele died. So I think still in a really good game spot. They did have minions pushing up most of their lanes, so at least they are going to be able to get lanes pushed out. Maybe look over to this Gold Fury, see if you can rotate it to an Oni. There has only been one Gold Fury taken this game, I believe. Maybe two. I could be wrong.
I think there might have been a Gold Fury and a Primal Fury, and then everybody forgot the left side of the map even existed until Arthur in that last fight.
Yeah, and it's hard not to sound too down. I think that might be the best chance to end that they're going to see with that Cupid dead. I mean, 65k damage on an ADC. It's not something you see every day. He's been instrumental in these defenses, and now you've let it get back to a 4v4 for this tower push. Daji is going to be looking to do some damage in this fight.
And the Phoenix drops faster than they can even think about it, and Cupid still got 10 seconds, but Volcanic Lightning not looking to push things on this 4v4 as Pele's still down as well. Because remember, Cupid and Pele shot themselves at the same time, and then, oh, look at that! Somebody remembered it existed! The Primal Fury is going to go down at 61 minutes and 32 seconds!
Oh, it's a Gold Fury up next, so not the Oni. Okay, so maybe definitely could have afforded to avoid that one. But you live and you learn. They are going to get empowered minions on this left bird now. The only bad thing is Fire Giant still not going to be up for about 3 or 4 minutes, so I don't think going to be very instrumental if, Lord forbid, this goes to another Fire Giant fight. But yeah, Volcanic Lightning now, they need to play this extremely carefully. I think we both said all game how good a base defense Harbingers have. That being said, Volcanic Lightning have every advantage I think possible going into this next one. They have all their relics, they have all their ultimates, full build. We saw a 3k pot from the Pele. I think if Pele can kill Cupid in this fight, it's going to be game over for Harbingers. They need a massive Phoenix defense.
And on that same wavelength, if Daji can take out the Discordia, things might swing the way of Harbingers. So those are two massive things to keep an eye out for. We do see a bit of a split. Pele's hanging out in the left lane. Everybody else is peeking around the soul lane, trying to cause some dysfunction amongst the ranks for Harbingers. And the Phoenix is dropping faster than you can even blink your eyes this late in the game. And everybody's attention is in mid onto the Pele, but it looks like Volcanic Lightning is going to choose to regroup as opposed to push that slight advantage they have. They're going to look to regroup and go mid.
And now I just want to say, if I'm Volcanic Lightning, I am not going middle Phoenix. You saw how quick that drop. Just go straight for the Titan. They're not going to get the chance. So big engage from Harbingers.
King Arthur takes Achilles in the air. Gunaholic picks up the Daji kill. That could be massive. Darkest of Nights follows up. He's participating all around. And now Volcanic Lightning might have their chance as we're in a 5v4, but everybody's taking damage quickly. And Gabba and Cupid come through immensely for Harbingers. Yuhong avoids the execution, but gets followed up by the little bit of a spear throw from the Achilles. And now Harbingers is pushing them back out of mid, saying, get out of my base. Achilles gets caught by Ganesh, Discordia damage, but it's on to the two tankiest members. Cupid's a little bit low,
Wow.
Arthur's low, Ganesh is low, they gotta back and heal. And Volcanic Lightning has to do the same thing. And once again, we find ourselves at a 64-minute stalemate.
Yeah, great defense by Harbingers, and I think really good job for ZTantalus, able to take down Perspective Duck on the backline. May just save them the game. That Cupid, I think, a big distraction. And I got a small bone to pick with Volcanic Lightning. That right bird melted so insanely fast to a late game Gibalonk. I'm surprised they went for that middle Phoenix. If I were them, I would have stormed that Titan, maybe even out of frustration. I know my composure would definitely be wearing this long of a game. But I guess, I mean, respect to both teams, I do not know how they're still competing this late in the game when the game is still this even. And surprisingly, it's still anyone's game. I did not think I would be saying that this late in.
Yeah, if anybody ordered food, newsflash, your driver took it, and fire minions are coming in. Daji is going to be there and plenty of time to stop them, but Fire minions matter at this rate. Titans get blown up at this rate. If you've ever yourself been in a Smite marathon that passes that 60-minute mark, then you know everything can get blown up in the blink of an eye. And that is quite possibly the most important thing we're going to be seeing going forward as we hit the 65-minute mark in this game.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for mechanics to slip the later into games you get. You can get tired, you can get distracted, but whichever team has their mental more in it is going to win this game. Now Fire Giant is up, and Volcanic Lightning are there first. They're not starting it, though. They are still a little indecisive around that Fire Giant. To be fair, though, at this point, I don't think they need it. King Arthur should die in the back.
King Arthur stuck in the back, and Yamoja stuck in the front. ZTan gets the kill, and King of Darkness, the pillars drop. Everybody in Harbingers is still very healthy. Gabba picks up Gunaholic. Daji picks up BlackAirForcess. Could this be it? Pele's heading solo. Achilles is leading them right to her. She's gonna head back towards blue buff, and Daji's gonna finally get the kill on
That
to
should be
BudweiserCranker. There's one person left. Harbingers, if you're listening to me, end the game. Run it down. Here comes the Phoenix Siege. It's Pele versus the world. Will this be it? Oh, I hope so.
I think it is, and what an incredible last fight by the Harbingers and Gear Chief. Insane dive, 1 versus 4, does not die, extremely detrimental to Volcanic Lightning, and indeed, the Titan's gonna fall, Cupid gonna DPS it, 1 or 2 might die, but that's not gonna matter, a 66.5-minute win for Harbingers. That is the longest game we will see all season, I'm nearly sure of it.
Wipe the sweat off your forehead, baby. This game's over. And what an incredible game 1. And we're still not done. Harbingers pick up the victory in game 1. And I'm exhausted, but I'm excited.
Yeah, and I want to get a look at those endgame stats. The damage has to be absolutely insane. I know we talked about Discordia and Cupid getting up high. Can't even imagine the rest of the numbers. Yeah, 40k on the side of Order. Getting some into the 50s and 60s for X-Ball and Pele. Only
76k for ZTan.
Wow. And 18k healing from Yamoja. That is what you like to see if you're a fan of Volcanic Lightning. Unfortunately for them, not enough. And that'll make any caster happy. The wards. The wards.
Oh, look at those wards.
Great.
They look like a bingo card.
Oh, you gotta love it. But
and with that, that's going to lead us to the end of game 1. Believe it or not, after that marathon, we're still not done. So go take your pedal break, go get a drink, maybe put some water on your face. I might need to, and we'll be right back with game 2 on the Smite Draft League.
All right, and after that heck of a game 1, we are going to be back getting into game number 2 here. It's still Volcanic Lightning versus Harbingers. I'm KingFsher, and Anthony, what are your impressions of that first game?
Well, after I went, put some water in my face, took a walk around the block, smacked myself a couple of times, I was able to look back and see that we actually saw, as long of a game as it was, and there was the lack of commitment that we were harping on, there were some excellent individual performances we saw that we really should not leave out.
Yeah, and I think in particular, Volcanic Lightning did great with map control. I think they took it from minute 1. And despite that end call from Harbingers, they got past that midpoint once when they wiped all the towers. So I think, if anything, if Volcanic Lightning is able to continue that pressure they had from last game, I think they're still looking in an excellent spot to take this game number 3.
I'm going to have to agree. We do see the first bands coming out, and so far, everything's almost the same. We do see the Ganesh, we see the Hugh Wong, both off the board. So a big change here. I gotta say, I like the Hugh Wong ban. We did see it be really impactful that game. So, yeah, I like that going forward.
Yeah, and speaking of drafts, the one thing I want to see different from Volcanic is I want to see them have a little bit more objective secure, whether that means their Hunter with something like a Ho Yi, or maybe like a Scylla pick in mid that can still get the poke out like that Discordia was insane at doing. I think something like that may give them a little bit more confirm around those objectives and maybe give them that small push they need to start going with it, but it's looking pretty similar. The Cupid and Yamoja, I thought, were both great last game. I love them running back these picks for both sides. No issues that I can see.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I think the X-Ball on cue. I was going to say the X-Ball is probably a big thing I would change, and I love the on her, and I love the Khepri even more. Give me some Battle Bug on the other side.
Yeah, and we did see the Khepri banned out in game number 1, so maybe was more a little bit of a target ban than we thought. I think Khepri just a great meta ban in general. The only slight oversight I can see here from Harbingers is they did not ban out the Achilles, which I think Cranker was extremely comfortable on last time, so might be looking for that strictly because of the bug himself. But
And
no,
we
Baba
see a
Yaga.
Daji and a Baba Yaga that was banned last game, and this time it was left open, so I guess it was a huge pickup. Like we were talking about, we were wondering if that God pool was getting targeted, and I guess we're correct in that thinking.
Yeah, and I am really excited to see what this Baba Yaga does, and they are going to be the ones to ban the Discordia, maybe not wanting any copycats. Now, taking the Achilles out, I think really smart move from Harbingers. Might come back to bite them a little bit, not having that execute, but I guess we'll see. Thanatos, however unpopular he is, he's still available as a decent jungle pick.
You know, I feel like every time I see a Khepri, I mention the executes, and every time I almost feel like I get some giggles. But that you can't deny how impactful it is to basically completely take away that ultimate from Khepri, unless the Khepri is lucky enough to find themselves without a Thanatos nearby.
Yeah, and I think Khepri also going to allow Harbingers to play a lot more aggressive. I think, like we said, for Volcanic Lightning, the adverse is true for Harbingers. They were kind of behind all game, they didn't have a ton of map pressure, and a lot of the initiation was brought on by the aggressive Achilles and the Pele diving deep from Volcanic Lightning. So this Khepri should allow the Dodge G or the solo laner, whoever it turns out to be, to get a lot more aggressive and to step forward a lot more safely so they can still afford to play, I think, their style of Smite around these towers and stuff.
Yeah, we do see, we see the Pele, and I like the Pele ban because we saw it time and time again at the end there where Pele was able to come around the back and make a huge difference that almost won the game a couple of times for Volcanic Lightning, as we see the Shiva get locked in. Walk me through Shiva, another character that's a bit newer for me.
I think Shiva's a really interesting character. I think he's a much safer solo laner than a lot of people expect. I am guessing he's going into solo here, but has a really good heal, a little bit of invulnerability inside his little tower dash. That ability always confuses me. But also pumps out a serious amount of damage. I think like Achilles, he's going to find some decent value into the enemy team, and it's going to be a Scylla on the side of Harbingers, so instead they're going to have the objective secure. Because of that, and the Khepri, I would expect them to be pushing a lot more this game. Osiris too, I think this is going to be a night and day comp we see from Harbingers.
Yeah, I love the Osiris pick. I love the Scylla pick. I mean, look, the roots are impactful. The crush is so much damage. The I'm a monster, though, is a game changer time in and time out.
Yeah, it definitely is. And now some of the pressure goes on to Volcanic Lightning. Obviously, I think kind of narrowly dropping that first set. And I think, where do you go from here? That Pele ban, looking back to it, I don't know how much of that was Pele and how much was Perspective Duck. He did a really good job of getting in the right position. The blinks were all super good and really impactful whenever he dove the back line. They certainly felt it, and Set gonna allow them to do the exact same thing. I think Set gets into backlines incredibly easily, but I think we are gonna have to load into game and wait. Game number 2, we'll be right back.
The first game took us 66 minutes to figure out a winner. Will the second game be the same? I'm still Anthony. He's still KingFsher. Let's do it. Are you ready for another marathon?
I certainly am, and my apologies, that is not Set ADC. Instead, we have a little bit of a role swap. Gunaholic, the X-Ball from last game, going to be taking over jungling duties as Perspective Ducks moves over to ADC. And do you think maybe that's to limit ZTantalus a bit? I mean, got off to an incredible start. I think was the game changer for his team. Gunaholic still did really good on the X-Ball, but Ducks was straight up dominant as the Pele.
Yeah, I love Arthur into Cupid. I feel like that's it's not necessarily a counter, but it gives you a much better fighting chance than the X-Ball did. As Yamoja gets pulled in, Heart Bombs applied. Is it enough damage for a First Blood? There's the shell. Minions blocking the way. Not enough for a First Blood, as Yamoja gets to walk away life in hand. But I do think that the on her with perspective duck, maybe that's a comfort pick. In Gunaholic on set, maybe it's the same thing. This could be something they've worked on together, and that could be incredibly impactful going forward.
Yeah, I think the thing I'll be interested to see is if it changes up their playstyle at all. I think Dux was incredibly active early as Pele. I think 4 of those 5 or 6 kills came within the first 10 minutes, it had to be, but still continued to be aggressive into late game, finding massive value, a lot of damage. I think if Gunaholic can keep that up on a pick like Set, it's going to do worlds for them. Set is such a great pick when he gets off to a lead early, so I'm definitely looking at Gunaholic to carry this Volcanic Lightning team through the early game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you, and I do think there's something I want to point out here. I love giving my things to look for, even if I'm spectacularly wrong, but they did not counterpick the Khepri. Big damage on Osiris, he's going to be able to walk away. They did not counterpick the Khepri. There is no execute going the way of Volcanic Lightning. So, late game, if Set gets on somebody and blows them up, if Flippin' Ninjas is ready, he can save that damage and kind of reset the set of events. If you do that onto Set, Set might find himself caught out and hung out to dry.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I think this set, too, going to be a lot more stressful for Flippin' Ninjas. On the Ganesh last game, kind of just sat back, if someone gets dive, I guess I'll hit my 2. Maybe I'll stop a few abilities. Not much else you can do as Ganesh, outside of maybe dashing and taking an absolute ton of damage. But he was using that to engage. I think he's going to be a lot more conservative this game. And having Gear Chief on the Osiris definitely allows him to be. I think Osiris is a great pick as a purple invade early. Set should get away from this Cupid dashing in, though. Can he find a Heart Bomb? No.
Set with the perfect time to get away, but Khepri managing to keep up, and Scylla's right there with the root. The crush, not quite enough damage yet. Oh, and Set's gonna be able to get away. The robbery's complete, the heist is done, the purple buff is Lightning's.
Yep, and our role change is gonna do nothing to dispel that aggression. And if you're a Volcanic Lightning fan, you'd love to see it that early, those two working together very well to get Gunaholic out of there alive. A little unfortunate from Harbingers. I think if that Cupid Bomb had landed, definitely would have got that one. Now PFshawn does get that I'm a Monster. I think one of the biggest tipping points in the game for any character is Scylla's ultimate. When you compare it to something like this Baba Yaga in lane, are you expecting Sean to get in a lead as Cranker takes down Gear Chief again?
Another solo kill in the solo lane. This time it's First Blood for Volcanic Lightning, trying to change their fates after game 1.
Yeah, off to a very similar start from game 1. I think that one as well started, I guess, on the Achilles that time. Solo kill to the solo laner, though, nothing too new, but still around the same. And we see this Soul Leader from Shiva. I think I talk about this a lot. The nerfs it receives, it needs more stacked, it does less lifesteal, but still, we're seeing it built consistently from solo laners. I think too good of an item on some of these characters to really change.
And Gear Chief's got to be careful. He came back to solo and instantly he's back down below half health after using that teleport. Bit of a tough circumstance for him. I do want to mention quickly before I'm cut off that there was a swap. So we do see Sean on the Scylla as Onher gets pulled in. It's going to get away. There's the Rising Dawn. I think they're safe. So there was a tag in. So Sean on the Scylla, it's important here. We didn't get to see Sean last game. There's the Fields of Love and the Bees is going to respond and Onher's going to get away. But the pull onto Emotion with the Heart Bomb, but not as much damage as you might expect. But the shell might have been wasted as now Dage's arrived. There's the pull, but the pull is quick. So is there enough damage? There is. The Heart Bomb finds Darkness and ZTan finds the kill.
Great gank, great timing from Akamura as now the solo laners battling out again. It's a little odd to see on Osiris. He did go for the Warrior's Axe. I love Warrior's Axe as a starter. I think late game it is incredibly good. But giving up that Death Soul early, Osiris probably not going to find as much sustain as he normally does. But I think you were making a point about the mid laners before you got cut off like 4 times.
Oh no, you're fine. It's tough, especially in, games like this with the aggression. But I'm just trying to point out that we do have a substitutions. PFshawn is in for Gabba over in the mid lane for Harbingers, so that Scylla pick with Sean, not something they were experienced with last game, as Sean plays it beautifully. It's like he heard me. I'm a Monster is good in the mid lane, and PFshawn picks up the hill on Gunaholic.
Wow, who needs Gabba in the mid lane when you have Sean? I'm kidding. Gabba played late. Great that game, not late. And I think that'll also be kind of weird to see. I wonder if they have different styles. Like we said a lot, I think Gabba played a lot safer, was able to spread the damage around really well, and by staying alive created a ton of pressure for Harbingers. The Volcanic Lightning made it hard for them to push out sometimes. But I think if PFshawn can do the same thing on this Scylla, it's going to make it a world of hurt for Volcanic Lightning. The I'm a Monster too should come up massive in these late game team fights.
Absolutely. Don't worry about the missed word. I said hill instead of kill. We had a 66-minute game. We're basically running on hazard pay here, so it's fine if we misspeak a word or two. But Sean showing up early with the very strong I'm a Monster pick, and he wasn't able to get the second reset, but he did hit the second ultimate. So if that's any idea of what's to come and something to look for that Scylla, Volcanic Lightning better look out.
Yeah, and I think that's a measure of any good Scylla. Hitting the reset is so important, not just because you get kill credit so you can brag to your friends, but getting that second amount of damage off, being able to spread it around, is so valuable. Speaking of valuable on her. Ooh, does he get out?
The root followed by the basic. A lot of synchronicity in the duo lane. Same wavelength, same autos. Big kill for ZTan onto the On Her, played by Perspective Duck.
Yeah, I normally expect to see the On Her doing the one killing, but now I think goes back to like we said last game. Supports are starting to rotate out a lot later.
Oh, hold that thought as Set went in too deep, and Daji punished him for it. And now the wave might be enough to save the Yamoja. Oh, and just like that, the portal and the alley-oop takes him away from the chain, and the Daji can't pull him back in there. Great play by King of Darkness. Gunaholic may have fallen, but Darkness made an excellent play to get away there.
Yep, King of Darkness carried on a slip and slide back to his tower, stays alive. Good move from the Umoja, and I think we said it best on the desk. This comp is going to allow Harbingers to be a lot more aggressive. There's a lot more things that can go right, and sure enough, pretty much a straight reversal from last game as they are now the ones up 4-1. About 1,000 gold.
In the solo lane, he's trying to get away. He won't. Soloed again. BudweiserCranker came to play, but Daji's got the blink and says, leave my man alone. Picks up the kill. Daji goes and manages to get the trade for his solo lane gear chief.
And ignoring the death, that is a level 10 Shiva. At it was 8 minutes in. BudweiserCranker doing a great job staying up and farm early. Wonder if maybe a couple more blue invades are the ones to blame, as we saw Volcanic Lightning was extremely active with buff invades last game. Saw him continue it onto the purple buff, so maybe that is the culprit. But I think a lot more even balanced game than we saw last time. I think by this time we were already see Volcanic Lightning really pressing their advantage and limiting the map from Harbingers, where I think it's at a lot more balanced state right now.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about it in Picks and Bans. You and I saw the Baba Yaga, and you got quite excited to see how it was going to go. So I really want to see the Baba Yaga start showing up. Not a whole lot yet, but keeping up with that Scylla, and PFshawn did pick up a kill. So come late game, just like we saw last time when Gabba was on the Huang, that damage can show up late and kind of come out of nowhere. We saw her go from the bottom of the damage charts to fighting for the top, pretty much because of one team fight. So I expect to see the same here at a Baba Yaga.
Yeah, and talk about bottom of the damage charts, unfortunately for Gunaholic, sitting at just 320. Normally, not what you want to see as a Set. I think Set's a very aggressive pick. Likes to get kills early, likes to gank a lot, really likes to use that ult.
Oh no, On Her got caught lazy backing under his tower, and Daji gets the kill. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, great rotation again by Daji. I think having a lot more map influence in Gunaholic right now, unfortunate for Volcanic Lightning. And that is why it has a 2-level lead now, a Gold Fury at 10 minutes. This is a huge turnaround from game 1. I love the call. I'm a Monster is going to be used to secure it here.
Yeah, Harbingers is on the gas pedal. Yamoja tries to get the steal, and I'm a Monster was a little bit late, but it didn't matter in the end as Harbingers still picked up the Fury, and they're going to pick up the Yamoja kill too. Overall, much different approach from Harbingers this time, and it's proving to be beneficial.
Yeah, this is what we were missing from both teams last time. Really excited to see one team start to pick it up, start to get aggressive, but now if I'm Volcanic Lightning, If you are able to match that aggression, I think you have an extremely strong team comp. And it strikes me as one that plays a lot better to the individual player. Like we saw last time, we would see Perspective Duck and Cranker kind of dive individually and everybody sort of follow up. I think with picks like the Honor, the Set, the Shiva, it really, really gels well with that style of play. So I think if Volcanic Lightning are able to capture that same mojo they did game 1, it might be really different results. That being said, though, Harbingers off to a crazy, crazy good start for game 2.
For sure, and Gear Chief may need to start rethinking that push-up as Set arrives. The ultimate, I don't think it's going to matter. He's one basic away. Gunaholic gets the kill onto Gear Chief, but look who's showing up to play. KFsher's here in the solo lane. What am I seeing? Is it a duel? I don't think so. Oh, and Baba Yaga and Yamosha might have popped up on a ward. That's enough for Daji and the KFsher to think better of chasing the engage there. And overall, you know, Gear Chief getting pressured out, but things still aren't looking bleak over in the solo lane. They could be much worse.
Definitely could. Great rotation by Volcanic Lightning, though. Kill credit goes over onto the Set, gonna help him stay up in levels with this Daji. Now only down about a level and a half, which is great considering Daji has 4 of the 7 kills. Been involved in 6 and 7, I think more so than the last game. Harbingers definitely relying around rotation. We're seeing the KFsher fly all over, Daji making herself noticed. And as a result, it's a lot more even game, although about 2,500 gold lead. At 12 minutes in, not too shabby, but definitely is still close enough where I wouldn't worry as Volcanic.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I have to say, so far, over in the duo lane, if you look, the Cupid's 202, level 13, on her, level 11, 020. Just finishing up those Transcendent stacks, picked up an XE, and Cupid's a bit further ahead. I don't think that's anything too significant to worry about for Lightning, as Sean pulls out amazing damage onto Gunaholic and picks up the kill. Gunaholic was just going for a stroll by the red buff, as was Yamosha, and it was interrupted. And Yamosha's going to be able to get away under the tower, but now Honor finds himself in the middle of 3 from Harbingers, but he doesn't care. He's jumping in. The ult onto Scylla, but none of them hit. The KFsher ult comes out. I'm a monster deployed, but Daji didn't need it anyway. Gets the kill onto Perspective Ducks. Scylla looks for the minions. Not quite good. Overall, great fight for Harbingers.
Yeah, really good fight for them, keeping everyone alive as well. I love seeing Flippin' Ninjas try to get aggressive onto the Yamoja, which he got under tower, though, turned right around coming to the Scylla's aid. Great communication from the support in mid there in Harbingers. Glad to see no words were lost with that substitution. Pyromancer as well. I love the way they were playing this map. I think they're going to turn it around. Last game, we saw Volcanic Lightning take control. They never gave it up until the end. If Harbingers are able to do that as well, it could be a much shorter game 3. So now we see KFsher going back to duo lane. KFsher really spreading himself out well. 3 levels over this Emoja. That is a great lead if you're a support.
Very well done, as we see this Scylla show up in the nick of time for the Scorpion. And I have to say, Gear Chief, though down 0-3, I think Harbingers might be using that to their advantage. We saw in that last Pyromancer that Gear Chief almost died. He ulted away at the perfect time to get away from Budweiser, keeping himself alive. And in doing that, why would you assume, if the Osiris is in lane boxing it out, that they're considering the Pyromancer? So I think Harbingers might be playing off of what so far has been the focus of Lightning, and it's going their way. Baba Yaga going to use the Purification Beads and get away from the Daji just in time. Would have run into that crush, but now Set and On Her might be taking on the Cupid, but that level advantage almost proved useful, but not quite enough, as Gunaholic picks up the kill onto ZTan.
Yeah, I don't know if ZTantalus was just aiming at the On Her, but I don't think he hit that Set once. So either just really good dodge by Gunaholic, or he got lucky he was targeting someone else. But second kill over to the Set, only down 1 level to the Daji. And speaking of levels, like you said, 0-3 over here. We've been talking about how great Budweiser was farming. Level 10 at 8 minutes. In 7.5 minutes, he has only gained 4 levels. This Osiris has done a great job limiting the Shiva. I think all the team rotations might help with that. Great map pressure being brought here by Harbingers.
I have to agree, and I think it's so important as a player and for your team's mentality that just because you're down like that, you're getting bullied out, that you don't let that interrupt the comms, interrupt the flow, that you take that in stride, and they found a way to turn it to their advantage. I think that's incredibly impressive from Harbingers, and honestly, that communication and that teamwork and that ability to stay and keep up with Cranker might be the difference here.
Definitely could be, but now on to my favorite segment of the cast, where we talk about the builds for a minute. We do have the same Umoja build, which I do like this Umoja build a lot. I think it offers so much value in terms of healing. As long as I think she stays away from the Male Renewal late game, can Osiris stay away from the Grave? He can. Yeah, the Staff of Mirrodin from the Scylla too. Not an item I like on Scylla, but probably going to put it to good use. Umoja is looking low.
We see everybody hopping around over on the left side, and Set finds himself in the fields of love, but he isn't blushing that hard. He's going to get picked up by ZTan, and Harbingers are going to turn their attention to the Oni Fury, but Onher's here, and he might be in the perfect position to steal. Depends on the I'm a Monster. It comes down, not in time. Oh, the steal by Perspective Duck for Volcanic Lightning. Beautifully done.
Yeah, that's 2 Gold Furies in a row we've seen the Scylla be late on. Hopefully, though, I think that is an easy adjustment for PFshawn, maybe underestimating his damage a little bit. I think normally late game you're a little more liberal with it, just kind of swing it a lot earlier and trust it'll do the damage, but not a ton of pen online. I think just 15 flat pen. So maybe not thinking it does as damage as it does. I still think late game the Scylla pick is going to be invaluable on those objectives.
I agree. We have seen the Scylla kind of calm down after that beginning just shining, but I don't think he's out yet. We'll have to see. Scylla does kind of have a strange mid game as you're starting to get that passive online. You're starting to finalize your items and really start to do that heavy game-changing damage. All right, and now over in the duo lane, we do see that Cupid and Onher do not stop fighting. It's like they don't like each other. It's like they've got beef. But I gotta say, Onher kind of on the same wavelength as Gear Chief. Staying alive, it matters. It makes a difference. You fall too far behind, and there's not really any coming back. Daji goes in the Baba Yaga in the back, but gonna have to use her ability to get away. Didn't want to overextend. Overall, a good call. Scylla saw level 13 Set in the jungle, but chose not to use any abilities and fall back. And could have been a dangerous move there by Gunaholic. Ended up working out. Daji coming up behind the Onher. Here we go. Onher's got jump. He's going to use it. But the Fields of Love, the Daji ult, but they got counteracted by the Purification Beads and the Aegis that Onher's got his relics on his thumb. Oh, what a beautiful use of actives there by the Onher. Take notes if you're new to Smite. But Volcanic Lightning going to take advantage of that pressure in the dual lane to pull themselves a Pyromancer. And at 18 minutes, we're going to have enough. Over the wall! PFshawn steals the Pyromancer with the I'm a Monster! What a steal! He might have had a rough use on his own team securing the Gold Fury, but for the Pyromancer, the timing was impeccable. Now the Root and the Crush, not enough to secure the Scorpion. He's going to have to run away, but overall, what an amazing steal from PFshawn. Now Osiris is hot on the case of the Umoja. He's run into a team, but he's level 17. Does he care? And the ult through the waves, followed by the Scythe, enough to pick up the kill and King of Darkness for Gear Chief. They've got me slurring over my words. What an amazing fight from Harbingers after stealing the Pyromancer. Now we've got Daji on Shiva in the mid lane. Nice root from Flippin' Ninjas, but not quite enough to follow up on.
And that was an incredible series by Harbingers. Scylla stealing over the wall early on the first two, not early on that one. Loved the aggression from PFshawn. Almost overstepped though, but a couple kills falling their way. Now Volcanic Lightning are getting to a dangerous spot. They're now about 5,000 gold down. They may lose a grip on it fast. I think the biggest thing rather they have to be worried about is the level differences, or solos or even, but it is a consistent 2 to 3 levels at every other role on the map, and that is going to get really hairy if they're not careful.
Yeah, especially with the overall low damage we see coming from the mid laners, but Scylla has been more impactful, but the Baba Yaga has just kind of been a bit calm for my taste. We saw the late Book of Thoth pick up too. I don't like that item late. I like getting your stacks done early, especially if you're going to do double stacking with a Spear of Deso in between, looking to do the maximum amount of damage, that's for sure.
Yeah, if this game does anything close to as late as we saw last time, it'll be no problem. That's one of the advantages to Shiva, so much sustainability. Let's see if he pops ult here, getting really low though.
Another beautiful I'm a Monster from Sean did a good amount of damage, but ultimately Daji will pick up the kill onto Cranker. House in the mid lane. Set in the solo lane picks up the kill onto Daji. And now they're all trying to find their new positions to take on the Set in the Yemoja, but Set's dancing around. The movement speed, though, doesn't matter if you got a good pull from a Khepri, and Yemoja says, follow me through the portals, and now Set's all alone in the solo lane. Sean comes through, crushed a little too late. The slow won't be enough to hold up the Set for Harbingers to chase him down.
Great job by Gunaholic staying alive there. Thought he was a dead man after he went in, but did get a kill onto the Daji, and this has completely opened the door for the Sonher to push down this left side. They are going to lose that Fire Giant. Can maybe make him pay a little bit.
Now, I'm a Monster, and the timing was a little early. So far, Sean has been consistent in hitting the I'm a Monsters, but for objective secure, it's a little bit better when he sees the enemy health bars.
Yeah, and that's bound to get better with time, and if last game is any indication, he is going to have plenty of time to practice. Luckily for them, though, I think Harbingers are looking in a much better spot than they did last game, and considering how well they were able to stay composed, bide their time, and play patient, I think seeing them on a more aggressive footing is going to be really good. Last game's kills were really even, they did a great job staying alive. Volcanic Lightning, though, have been pretty consistently losing the team fights. I think they've answered a couple back, but definitely not looking as strong as they did with their first team.
And the Primal Fury goes the way of Harbingers at 22 minutes, and just a completely different vibe this game. Harbingers have been on the gas pedal the entire time. No more dances at the Fire Giant, much to my happiness levels.
Yeah, definitely nice to not see that. As cool as it was to see that late of a game at Smite, that's like something you see once in a lifetime, and you're like, yeah, it's good. It's like the Cubs winning a World Series only once every 100 years.
Oh, I love a good baseball reference in Smite. They're so similar, just anything could change at any given moment. As we see the tier 2 push come out of Harbingers on a very organized siege that starts to go awry as Osiris takes a good chunk of damage. But they're going to fall back, and much like last game, we see the reset. But Sean's waiting on the side, and with the amount of damage that Sean's been outputting this game, they better keep their eyes open. He's just kind of hanging back. Good root on the Shiva, but a bit too tanky to commit too much damage on. And I'm not sure if they haven't poked out Sean yet and figured out he's waiting on the other side of this wall, or if they're just hoping that he's not going to commit too far. But he's been able to just stand there, and now he starts free casting, gets huge damage on the Baba Yaga as his tier 2 continues. And here comes the Khepri looking for a pull, nothing quite there yet. He's just going to tank the tower and give his damage some time to do it on her. Gets the big impale, but Khepri gets the bigger pull. Daji gets her own pull, but the purification beads says no, no, no. And once again, retreating, resetting, going back for a new tier 2. Osiris is tanking, but no follow-up quite yet. Sean uses the I'm a Monster on the tower. Might have been a miscast. It doesn't do damage there. They stepped out of it, I promise. Resetting once again, but everybody's getting healthier and healthier as time goes on. Those Cupid pints are making all the difference. I don't know if they're going to start fighting or not. Fish, tell me what you're seeing.
I think this is a bad habit a lot of teams get into as we see them finally commit.
They heard me! I'm a Monster! Gets the kill! ZTan gets his own. Gunaholic picked one up, but will it matter? Khepri gets the pull on the Shiva. Beads a little late. Double kill for ZTan. Triple kill for ZTan! Sean and ZTan chase away the Yemoja, turn back to the tier 2, and right as they heard me get impatient, they decided to press that gas pedal once again, and they got the tier 2, and they got 4 lives with it.
And they're going to end. Could we go from the longest game to the quickest 25 minutes in?
Are they trying to speed run? There's a counter on the screen. It's just Yemoja, and Osiris has her peeled. Titans down to half. They're doing good damage. Yemoja might be throwing in the towel. I'm a Monster, quarter health. Gone. Harbingers take the set from 66 minutes to a speed run to a victory for Harbingers.
And what an incredible game by Harbingers. I was just about to say, I don't like the eternal team fighting on the tower. Without an engage they did. Massacred 3 of them, found one on their retreat. That is exactly what the Harbingers needed as they close out this series 2-0. And forget this being week 1, that might be one of the most interesting and fun series we'll see all season.
Yeah, the difference between game 1 and game 2, and you can't really chalk it up to anything other than the gas pedal by Harbingers. They committed to a game plan this time. I don't know if they had places to be this game, but they were playing with a certain quickness that was impressive to behold. I mean, great job by Volcanic Lightning, though. You can't take that away from them.
Yeah, I think Harbingers are going to be a really interesting team to look at going forward. They played 2 very different styles and did it well. But like you said, credit to Harbingers. I think they played a very strong game 1. I think game 2 got away from them a little bit, but things get better with time. I think they're going to sharpen up a lot of the mistakes, because even the ones we kept talking about, we were running out of topics. They were very, very small mistakes. This can be an extremely competitive team if they play
100%.
consistent and play with each other well.
And looking forward to the rest of the season, this could end up being a bit of a rivalry after a game like that with the 66 minutes followed up by the gas pedal from Harbingers. But after an exciting set between Harbingers and Volcanic Lightning, we're going to have to say farewell here in the Smite Draft League. Drop a follow to the Twitch, get in the Discord, get signed up, let us cast your games, have some fun. I've been Anthony. This was KingFsher. On production, we had Nooblet, and thank you for watching on the Smite Draft League.
What I do, I'm like a weapon that's sharp as many, but got hard. I'm ready to change scars to envy, to win large and plenty. I like to play fair.